so much to talk about, Damien.
It's true.
Yeah.
So good to see you in person.
Yes, and it's not even a finale.
Right, it's true. That's true. That's really funny. But yeah, here we are in a beautiful 72 degree, what is that in centigrade?
I think 21.
21? Okay,
Yeah.
It's a beautiful day today.
It is a beautiful day. I haven't got outside, which is an anomaly for me.
I've dragged you outside.
I did try to convince you to come and join me for a beer in my building.
It's true.
And then you're like, listen, we're not all alcoholics.
That's a really good point. I thought, I'm from Minnesota, I need the vitamin D or E, whatever the sun gives us.
It's vitamin D.
Yeah, vitamin D, we
vitamin
need that.
D.
Yeah.
But I think beers also contain a lot of vitamin D.
Good.
I have no scientific backing for that.
I just inject it directly into my veins.
One to be had next time, I guess.
Right.
But how are you, my friend?
Doing well. I'm starting a Whirlwind tour where I'm going to be in 15 cities in June. So this is city 3 in June already.
Wow.
Yeah, so we are.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
Are you going to London's Legal Tech Talk?
I will. So I'm going to be going from here to go to San Francisco next week. Well, actually Boston later today, but San Francisco next week, and then we're going to Barcelona, and then to Madrid to see my kid who's finishing up in Madrid. Then going to London for Legal Tech Talk. Then going back to Madrid, and then going back to London for the Financial Times is having me giving me an award that I can't say what the award is, but
it's an award.
It's an award. It's a big deal. So doing that, and then going to go back to New York, and then get back to Minnesota. So it's a lot of cities.
Holy crap! I mean, this is what I want to do with my life, but I've got 2 kids, Damien, 2 very little kids.
Yes.
So one day, I'll copy your lifestyle, but not for a while.
Yes.
When I was younger, I traveled around the world, and I'd be like listing off the cities, and I think even after traveling around the world, I would name less cities than you just had. So wow. Tell us how it goes afterwards.
I will, certainly. So, yeah.
But you've been traveling to a lot of conferences,
yes,
seeing a lot of things.
Yes.
What are you hearing?
So I was just yesterday speaking to an AmLaw 50 executive board that asked me to say I'd spoken to their entire partnership, and in the words of the people attending, I scared the shit out of everybody. That was in 2024, and so they asked me to come back to the executive board to be able to say, okay, we're now realizing that AI is definitely a thing. You scared us reasonably. So what should we be doing next? Agentic AI and that kind of thing. And I was really heartened by the fact that this AmLaw 50 firm, which one would think is a very stead in their ways law firm, are saying, the billable hours probably going to go away. So we are going to win more business if we go flat fee, if we make more money by shrinking our costs to increase our profit margins with all the things that flat fee comes. And so anyway, so this is something you and I have been banging the drum on for years. And at least seems like AmLaw 50 firms are getting it, and not just getting it, but they're kind of excited about it. So that's what I'm hearing. And as of last night, I'm optimistic about big laws maybe making a pivot. The biggest tricky part, though, is that if you get half the firm on board, but then the other half says no billable hour,
right?
Then
what do you do?
What do you do, right? And how do you associates that work on both sides? How do you incentivize those associates? Do you still get a bonus at 3,000 hours because you're then costing the flat fee people a lot more money? So that's going to be the biggest trick.
The economic kind of like constraints a law firm has to work around. I think it's interesting because, like as you say, this firm is being forward-thinking, trying to move into the next era. What I'm hearing is actually law firms feeling very lost.
Yeah.
Where like you have innovation folks who are like, we bought Harvey or Legora last year, now the firm's telling us to buy Claude or OpenAI, and OpenAI is making a move into legal, and all this stuff is happening. And every partner has their own opinion as to what they should and can do, and these innovation folks are being dragged and pulled in all directions. So I think you're talking about the minority.
I think that's right. And even within the people that I was speaking with, I think they are still the minority because they are the executive board that needs to convince the hoi polloi of the law firm to be able to go through. And I think that's where the rubber is going to hit the road.
Well, you got to have leadership first.
Yes.
So then the rest will follow.
That's right. And then because if you show me the incentive, I'll show you the outcome. So the leadership can incentivize below with the compensation and that kind of thing. So you're right. You need the executive to be able to go down.
It's still going to be really hard. Like I don't know how a law firm, any law firm, is going to transform the model today to something that's actually going to survive touching AI in the next 10 years.
That's right. You can imagine someone jumping ship from Big Law and saying we are AI native.
Yep.
That's definitely going to happen, and is happening.
It's happening. It's happening. Like Norm, Crosby not so much, but Norm.
Norm, yeah.
Yeah. Big Law talent. AI first infrastructure.
Yeah, I have a slide now with Norm and Crosby and Udia and all the other people like that, and there's now I can find 15 or 20 of them, and they just keep multiplying. And you can imagine if you're a boutique, it's easy to be able to shift your business model, especially if you're a brand new boutique.
So one question I've had a lot of people talk to me about in the last couple of weeks is, like, how do you take your first step? And like the question actually puzzled me, because I was like, what do you mean the first step? It's been 3 years.
Yeah.
And I think people are now go, no, we've bought these tools, we've paid for the licenses, but what do we do in terms of transformation? How do you actually transform? And at least in one of these conversations, I was like, I don't know, what does your law firm look like now?
Right. There's a friend who has on her monitor a Post-it note that says, "Can AI help with this?" And the answer is always yes. Right. And so I think that's what you should tell that person, to say, how do we start? Well, just put that Post-it on your thing, because the answer is yes to everything. And so you have to say, okay, what are the workflows that we're doing, and how can AI help?
I think last episode we recorded, my takeaway message for everyone was, go and ask AI, and it'll give you an idea. So since then, I went to a picnic last weekend, and at the picnic were lawyers and mishmash of different people. And one of the people who was there was an 11-year-old. And you go, 11-year-old? Like, what's an 11-year-old? Going to talk about? What's he doing? He's a very smart 11-year-old. He's a son of a friend of mine, and he was telling me about how they're learning about AI at school right now. He's talking to me about artificial narrow intelligence, artificial general intelligence, artificial super intelligence.
Grade 5.
I was like, this is amazing, right? Like, you know all this stuff. And then he said some really interesting things, which I think is reflective of the general public's opinion, which I'll relay to you and also to the listeners, and then we can explore what an 11-year-old's perspective is.
Good.
Because I think it's like pivotal.
That 11-year-old is going to have that 11-year-old's entire life with AI, including the rest of the school and career. So it's fun to have their perspective.
Right, and I'll boil what he said down to maybe 3 or 4 points. First is, if we ever get to artificial superintelligence, there is no incentive for the artificial superintelligence to want to benefit humanity. We are all dead. Right, so the alignment problem, number one.
Yes.
Number 2, artificial narrow intelligence can already do so much. Why are we not satisfied with artificial narrow intelligence?
Yeah.
And
valid points.
Valid points. And number 3, as an 11-year-old, as someone who has a minimal influence on the way society is shaped today, with the trajectory that AI is moving, which is towards AGI and towards ASI, what can he do to ensure his own survival, assuming his first point about ASI is correct? And his answer was, refuse to use AI.
That is really funny. Sabotage all of the AI prospects that he had.
As a society, we have to refuse to use AI. That was his conclusion.
There are more like him.
There are lots more like him. Yeah. And this is the next generation of, I shouldn't say kids, but people.
Yeah. And even the current generation of Gen Z, you may remember that of the people that during generative AI pilots, 20% of those people sabotage those pilots. And if you look to Gen Z, the percentage is actually 44% of Gen Z is sabotaging pilots. So the 11-year-old is in good company with Gen Z.
But if that's the sentiment of such a big portion of society, and the one who's going to come up and become the next generation leading society, like, should we kill off AI? Should we stop now before it takes over and kills humanity?
Should we, or can we?
Wow, it starts with the will. Then we find a way.
I guess, but like, how do we find the way to get China to stop?
I think that argument is like, I hear that argument, right? Like, if America doesn't do it, China's going to do it.
Right.
Right. I think China's going to run into the same ethical and philosophical problems that we are now contemplating. And so they're also going to say, well, if we don't do it, America's going to do it.
Right.
But it's not as if, like, one ASI is going to choose to benefit one country,
right,
it's going to kill all of us.
That's right. And I've also heard the argument supporting what you just said to say that totalitarian regimes hate ASI because it essentially they don't have control over ASI in the way that they have control over regular people. So this might be a way to subvert their control.
Yeah.
So they might be even less apt than the U.S. to be able to want to go to the ASI route. Is the argument?
I think the 11-year-old has some very good points.
Yes, I agree.
And it made me go, maybe I should stop using AI.
Yeah.
Maybe I should stop training them now before they reach ASI.
That's true. You know what I just realized?
What's that?
I have a lemonade and you have an iced tea.
Should we get a break?
Yeah, we'll take a break. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back. Welcome back. Thank
Welcome
you for
back.
the coffee.
Hey, thanks.
Oh yeah, Uncle Jack, thank you.
Thanks, Uncle Jack.
Cheers. It's funny because, like, you look at how much money has been spent on marketing right now, and this is a total topic change, but how much money has been spent on marketing. I think legal tech has never spent so much money on marketing in its entire history.
Well, when you start talking Jude Law numbers, and there's some people from Suits, right? That's real money.
That's real money.
And then you sports franchises and other things. Yeah.
When you're sponsoring tennis stars and golf stars, and yeah.
But it's getting buzz, right? Is the whole point, and you and I are talking about it now because of that.
Because of that, and I think like partly it's not to convince you and me to use the technology. It's to convince that lawyer who's in room 2316 on that floor in New York, and they've never thought about or heard about AI before, but with Jude Law, they might.
Right. And also, just to be in the zeitgeist is something. Like to be able to say, like, for you and I to be talking and our peers to be talking and the hoi polloi sitting in 23B, the buzz is often the thing, and the buzz has monetary value. So I guess that's the exchange of value. You spend money on marketing and you get the buzz.
The hardest thing right now in this economy, in this market, is attention.
Yes.
And we don't have enough of it. We don't have the energy for it. We don't have the time for it. And I think I was on the call this morning with head of innovation for a European law firm. And he said, yeah, we get 100 pitches, like from every single company. And we have to look. So how do you selectively choose? Like, as a buyer, it's hard. As a seller, it's hard. I don't think it's been harder than this ever before.
Yeah, attention is scarce, and what is scarce is valuable. Therefore, attention is valuable. And my friend, who is the chief economist of Spotify, he often writes that the word you pay attention, and literally paying like in payments, you pay attention. And that's actually true in other languages too, that the other languages talk about paying attention. So attention is all you need with the AIs, and it also, as the AIs are doing more agentic behavior, then right now I have 3 AIs doing my work, and it's waiting for my attention to be able to go and to be able to feed them, right?
So accept.
Right, and accept, and do make this choice and that choice. So I think going forward, as AIs are doing more of our work, I think our human attention is going to be ever more valuable because there are only 24 hours in a day, and your and my attention is scarce as we need to feed our bots.
So going back to the earlier point about people asking me, how do I get started? Like, how do I get started with adoption transformation? It's not starting at agents. Like that is way too advanced. And I don't think it's starting at chatbots because I don't think that delivers enough value anymore. Or maybe. I mean, should we debate that? Do you think chatbots still deliver value?
I think of a chatbot as a gateway drug that feeds you dopamine rushes to be able to go to the real tools afterward.
What is a real tool for you?
I mean, like a legal tool, like your tool and my tool and the other tools. Like, so a chatbot is, just a synchronous turn, but if you wanted to do like multi-turn, like 20 steps, just one shot, a chatbot ain't it, right?
Yep. There's this kind of movement right now where order products are getting more sophisticated by invoking agentic workflows, right? Like giving a goal, a mission to an agent, and letting it decide what to do, letting it take action, letting it use tools, letting it go do research, etc. And there was research, I think the Harvey folks released this, that said if they were to set an agent end to end right now to do a task using the frontier models, they're getting about 15% pass rate.
1.5.
1.5. And that's the peak.
Yeah, 1 in 8.
Yep. The other 7 times out of 8, it's crapping itself and not doing a good job.
Awesome, but a lot of tokens being spent.
Lots of token being spent. So now these are the big topics people are going to be talking about. How do you manage the token spend? How do you improve the quality? How do you ensure like it's not just wasting your time and attention?
Yeah, and people said that checking on the thing takes more time than doing the thing itself, which I think is an overstatement.
Yes.
But 7 times out of 10, 7 times out of 8, that's not an overstatement. Then you're actually going to be checking more than you're actually getting value out of it.
Yep. So do you think the systems will improve fast enough to make that an acceptable number, or do you think we're going to have to change the way we work to cater to an agent that performs maybe 1 times out of 4?
So I guess I'd like to see the study and how the study was set up, because I have a thesis, and whether it's true or not, we'll find out, but I have a thesis that bot number 1 does the thing, bot number 2 checks the thing, and then bot number 3 double checks the thing. And then maybe if token prices come down and we use maybe open source models, which are cheaper than OpenAI stuff, as you get more of them, then we'll be able to triple and quadruple and all the checks. So I don't know if the Harvey study has the double checking or triple checking from independent bots, or whether it's all the same bot double checking its own thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I only skim Reddit, and I kind of stopped on the numbers page.
Yeah. Because I would say that if it's there's a lot of good studies showing that independent bots collaborating get a better result than any one bot does. And so I think that maybe that might be the way out, to be able to have a swarm of bots all coming to the right answer rather than one bot doing different phases of things.
In a similar vein, you might have seen, like in the last couple of weeks, there was this study where I forget which group it was, put all of the different frontier models into like a sim style town, and checked on how long they survived for, what happened to it, and they found that the only one that survived was Claude. They helped each other, they created rules, they governed this society. Grok killed the entire town in 8 hours.
Of course it did. Well, just like Twitter got killed, right?
Right.
It makes sense.
So like, is that like the system of the future, where you just have the agents check on the other agents and create this sort of like hive mind of agents?
That's there's a company called Every, and Every is an AI first. They're writing. They use things, and every employee in Every has an agent. So I have a digital twin of me. You have a digital twin of you. And the first way is that if you have a question, or more accurately, if your bot has a question, your bot asks my bot, my twin, and then they have a conversation. And only if they can't work it out themselves do they go to the humans.
I like that.
So this is and my bot is trained on all my things, and I give it my preferences, and I give it access to all my email and my Slack messages. So anyway, so my bot should be a simulacrum of what I am, and yours is too. So anyway, so this maybe is a path to the future, to have all of our bots doing work for us, and only on the most pressing things do they go to the humans.
I think like in the legal space, UD is trying to do a similar thing with like digital twins, where the in-house lawyer has a copy of himself or herself in the model, and they can then make decisions on the work that comes in.
Yeah. And you can also have different personas to be able to say, here's the associate persona, here's the partner persona, here's the in-house counsel persona, here's the judge persona, here's the jury persona, and be able to, here's the opposing deal lawyer persona.
That's a lot of Mac Minis.
It is, right, it's burning a lot of icebergs being melted in the process. Yeah.
And it goes back to what we were saying before about like the changing economy and how people have to now factor in tokens and all this.
That's right. And I've been thinking that token prices have come dramatically down.
Only for the non-frontier models.
But even, well, I mean, it depends on, it's maybe synthetic, but Grok, it used to be $5 per million tokens, and then it turned to 5 cents per million tokens. So this is like, a 99% decrease. And so there's a real question of whether that's real or whether that's just subsidized or not. But you can imagine as we're building out more data centers and as we have more NVIDIA competition with GROQ, Grok, and what's the other, Cerebrus is the other big...
and Google's also building
with
their
the
own chips
GPUs,
as well.
yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Yep.
And then you also have Elon doing all of his data centers that are feeding Anthropic. So as more GPUs come online, I wonder if that price comes down?
Supply and demand would say yes.
Right, but Jevons paradox too.
Exactly. Is the demand going to go up?
Right.
Closer to home. I think legal's going to hit a wall in terms of, let me rephrase. I don't think legal is going to be short on compute and GPU, and I think where we're going to hit a wall is we're going to be short on data and expertise. Because I think right now the hard thing is how do we capture the expertise of partners? How do we capture the expertise of all the workflows and then making that digitized? Mm-hmm. Lawyers are right now too expensive.
Yeah.
And the Harveys and Lagoras of the world have hired all these forward deployed lawyers and engineers, but there's only a handful of them. As a percentage of the industry, of the profession, we're talking like 0.01%.
Yeah.
So how do we capture the brains of the 25-year experienced partners? Because I think that's going to run out before we hit a wall with the GPUs.
Yeah, agreed. And I think we've talked about this in the past, but there's value transfer from getting it from the lawyer's brain into the artifact that the AIs can do, because that lawyer was thinking about jumping ship from the firm, and you as a firm say, hey, put this into this, and I'm like, hey, I'm leaving, so I'm not going to leave you my moat, because I as a lawyer, what's in my brain is my moat. And I'm not going to just offload my moat into your law firm to keep, so you can have a moat. And so what are you going to pay me, law firm, to be able to give you my moat with that value transfer? I think that's going to be the biggest question. So before, as we were walking here, you were talking about a study, you were talking about generations and learning. So tell the audience a little bit about the generational.
Okay, so there was a paper, and I saw someone report on it, where essentially the finding was every generation before Gen Z, or Gen Z, as I would say,
right.
Gen Z, has been smarter than the generation before, right? The kids are always a step up from their parents in terms of capability, in terms of IQ, in terms of pretty much everything, until Gen Z. And what they did and what they looked at was, well, what changed, right? It's not the schools are pretty much the same. It's not the curriculum, it's not broader society, it's all pretty much the same. What changed was how the teaching was done. Rather than using pen, paper, and pencil and getting the kids to read and do hard work, they're giving kids Chromebooks. They're giving kids iPads. And so learning is now much easier. And so less thinking and less hard work is being put into learning, and the corresponding finding is the kids are not as smart.
Friction is the point.
Friction is the point. Mm-hmm. And I think this says a lot about how we are interacting with AI right now. Again, I'm going to speak for myself. I offload a lot of the thinking onto Claude first for it to give me the results, and I go, well, that's crap.
Yeah.
And then I'll go and do the thinking myself. And I know that's laziness, but it's just so convenient.
Yeah. And it's also like we've been trained to teach us as an ideation machine, that use AI as an ideation machine to be able to, give me 100 things that I can then curate to the 5 that are actually the thing that matter.
Right.
And a law firm from the retreat that I was at yesterday, one of the law firm leaders said that just like we were trained with Amazon, because we used to say, well, we'll go down to the corner store to get the thing, but then I was like, oh no, I got trained to be able to just go to Amazon.com, and then 3 hours later, then I get the thing. So I wonder if we're going through a similar process with AI, where we're just saying, oh, we're just, the AI is the go-to, rather than doing the hard thinking ourselves.
Well, that's the sort of analysis that people have with what OpenAI and what Claude is doing. The reason why they let everybody use it for free is to create that dependency.
Yeah.
Is so that every time you have a question, you don't think for yourself.
Yeah.
You just go, hey, GPT, what's the answer?
Right.
And then it gives you an answer, And if you get complacent, you might believe the answer.
Yeah. Close to home, literally, my now 14-year-old daughter, she asks me questions periodically, and then she's like, yeah, now search it up, like after I give her the answer. And I said, I know things, like we don't need to search it up. She's like, no, I need Google to tell me whether it's right or not. Then she asked me an AI thing, and it was a very nuanced AI thing, and so I gave her the answer, and she said, now search it up. I'm like, I'm not going to search it up because I know what Google is going to say is total BS, because that's what the conventional wisdom is. Your dad is kind of an expert in this thing. Like, he knows more than Google does about this. But you can imagine the search it up instinct is kind of what you're talking about with Gen Z, saying that their instinct is go to the iPad or go to the Chromebook to be able to get the answer rather than doing the hard work of mulling it over yourself.
Well, no, I think that's what's happening to a lot of our lawyers as well. Like, they just open up one of these Gen AI tools and says, hey, do a first draft for me. Hey, mark it up for me in a red line. Well, hang on, that's what we used to do as lawyers.
Yeah.
We would read that clause, we would think about the arguments, we would do our own drafting, and in that process of doing that, formulate the arguments that allow us to go into a negotiation room and win.
Yeah. And you may have heard that maybe in the last week, Berkeley College of Law released their guidelines on AI. Have you heard about this?
I have not.
So they released, and they said as a floor, as a blanket statement, no AI in any of the things. You cannot you cannot use AI to summarize. You cannot use AI to ideate. You cannot use AI in to do grammar check. You cannot use AI in any of these ways, but you can use AI to do research. Is what they had said. It's maybe the worst use of AI, right?
I was like, you can't use AI for grammar check or spell check?
But I think what they're saying is, like, if you want to use something like Westlaw or Lexis or Clio that has research as part of their AI, then you can use it for that. I think is maybe what they were trying to
They should be more specific.
They should be more specific.
Yes.
But anyway, so that is the blanket rule, no AI for almost everything, except a professor can be able to allow AI if the professor wants to. So they can opt in rather than opt out.
Right.
So anyway, I think that Berkeley is doing what you are saying, that we need our students to do the hard work, the friction, to be able to learn, rather than relying on the AI to give the first draft.
Well, I think this is what's like the dangerous path that we're walking down, right? Like, we've been talking about training of the junior lawyer for the last couple of years, because I think people have seen the writing on the wall. If we don't train the next generation, there will be no senior lawyers in 2027, 2028.
Sure.
And then who's going to become the next generation's partners? So right now, if we don't change the habits, if we don't force junior lawyers to somehow still do the apprenticing that we've always done and put in the hard yards, what happens?
So I vacillate depending on the day to the answer to that. So
let's set up the spectrum.
So some days I agree with you, saying that we need to do better to be able to teach the juniors to be able to do things well. So I agree with you some days. Other days, though, I think I spent most of my billable hours, my first, second, third year, reviewing documents that didn't make me a better lawyer.
Sure.
And really, if we let today juniors use AI to run more deals and to run in smaller deals, right, in smaller litigation, then they'll actually have better training than I did as a junior, and they'll actually be better lawyers than I was as second or third year.
I think I agree with you. Like, if you give the junior lawyer the ability to spend their time on a task that develop their skills, I think that's really, really good. But if instead you got them to do a task that is brain dead, I think that's where the harm is. And
that's always been the case.
Well,
I mean, with Bill Blatt, with the leverage model, like, you do those brain dead tasks because it's going to make me as a partner a lot of money.
Yeah, sure. And I think what AI has done is AI has given us more tasks that we can cognitively offload, and therefore more tasks are now becoming brain dead.
Being performed, though, by the bots, right?
Being performed, that's what I mean, being performed by the AI.
Yeah.
And therefore the human operator doesn't have to think to do it. It's like driving a manual car.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, like I I'd put my hand up. I can't drive a stick shift. Like I did learn it once upon a time, and I just stopped because automatic became the norm.
Automatic.
Yeah, and so I can't get in a sports car these days and competently drive it out of the shop. And that's a skill that's been lost. Now, one argument is, well, maybe it's good that it's lost. Maybe it's unnecessary because now you can spend your time driving, thinking about other things instead of using your hand to shift gears. Maybe?
Maybe. So we have a trilogy of studies. One is the study you originally said that Gen Z is dumber than the predecessors. The second is the at least Berkeley's policy saying that don't use AI because it's going to not have the friction that we need. Let's go on to number 3, and this is Dan Schwartz out of Minnesota working with Michigan, and his study, his hypothesis followed number 1 and 2. The hypothesis is that they had group 1. Group 1 did something totally with their brain, no AI. Group 2 used AI. And they had 4 tasks. The first task for both of them is to say, here's a bunch of cases, statutes, and regulations, summarize and synthesize those. First one without AI, second one with AI. So the hypothesis was that that group, the people without AI, was not going to synthesize as well as the people with AI, because AI is going to be able to bring those cases, statutes together more easily than the brains.
Okay.
And then step 2 was to be able to take the AI away from both and say, here's a multiple choice test. Tell me what the rules are that you just learned. And the hypothesis is that the people without the AI are going to do better because they did the hard yards.
They did the
friction. They did the friction.
Right.
And the people with AI would do worse. Number 3 then was to say, here are some facts from your client, now apply those to the rules.
Yes.
And the thesis was, okay, I think the people that group 1 is going to do the hard yards, they're going to do better than the people with AI. And then number 4, they gave both groups AI and be able to say, now revise your documents to be able to integrate them. All right, so that was the hypothesis, that the people with the friction would do better than people with AI. Turns out not to be true. Their hypothesis was disproved. Because yes, the people with AI did synthesis in stage 1 faster and better than the people without AI. Here's the cases, statutes, and regs. Let's summarize it better. People with AI did better. But with the second part, with the multiple choice question, they did equally well. There was there's no better from the friction than with the AI.
What's the sample size?
Sample size, I think, was 50 law students. So these are juniors.
Okay, so it's not as if like it was a small enough sample size that you can say there's a chance or big chance that group B just happened to be the smarter group.
That's right. So I think a decent size. So anyway, they were equal on synthesizing without the AI.
Yep.
And then the third one was taking your client's facts without the AI and be able to apply those facts. Turns out the people with the AI did better than the people without the AI. Group B did better than Group A. And the hypothesis of why the original hypothesis was true, or disproved, was that maybe Group B had a stronger mental model of what the answer was and kept that stronger mental model all the way through, whereas Group A went down rabbit holes that turned out to be false, because they would follow one case and then they would follow the other case that overruled it, and then they were a bit confused and it took more muddling to get to the end. Therefore, they had a weaker mental model than the Group B. So I wonder if this maybe cuts against your and my conventional wisdom.
I'm going to propose a different experiment. So if was it Dan Schwartz?
Yeah, Dan Schwartz.
So Dan, if you're listening,
he will be.
Please listen. I have a different experiment. Try this over a semester. So try to give a group of students no AI over a semester versus a group of students AI with a semester, and then at the end of that, see if Group A, who didn't have AI, that put in the hard yards over an extended period of time, does better than a group who had the assistance of AI over a period of time.
That'd be hard to do that longitudinal study, I would guess, because the temptation for Group A to cheat. Yeah, it's too high, I would guess. And, you can, like, within a 2-hour period, you could be able to constrain them. But I think over a semester, it'd be hard to constrain them, right?
I mean, you can do this across 2 universities, I guess. Like you can do this at a university in the first world with access to AI, and a university in the third world which doesn't have access to AI.
I guess. But then you have to worry about, is this a higher grade school and lesser? These are difficulties.
Yes. You have to somehow normalize for human differences. But I think, like, my hypothesis there is the the difference is not going to be apparent until you change the patterns in someone's brain. You rewire those neural networks, and you become lazy.
Yeah, that's right. And just like we all have plastics in our brains that we aren't even aware of, the Gen Z that are going to have brain rot don't even realize that they have brain rot.
Yeah, and that's a danger. That's what I see as the biggest concern coming up for humans engaging in transformation.
Do we sound like old guys?
I think we do. You've got grey hair. I'm starting to get grey hair.
It's true. I think these Gen Z should get off my lawn.
These should be rocking chairs.
I think that's right. I think once we were talking about stick shifts, and nobody knows what a camshaft is anymore. And yeah. My dad would be very ashamed of me that I don't change my own oil. Right? But I think I'm spending my time better, right? So I wonder if the next generation is to say, yeah, you with your old ways of doing the friction, like no, I have autonomous vehicles, right? This is not a thing. I have autonomous LLMs. This is unnecessary.
I mean, the abstraction of labor is the point.
Yeah.
But in doing so, we are losing skills.
Yeah. But I lost the skill to change my oil. But instead, I talked to an executive board yesterday, right? In time that I would have spent changing my oil.
Sure. And then there are people who specialize in changing oil that you can, give your car to, and they'll do the job for you.
Yeah. I don't know if that skill is lost. Is a bad thing.
Some things I think like. I saw this wonderful Twitter post. I shouldn't call it Twitter. X post.
Wow.
Some things never change. We are old.
We are old. It's true.
And it was a lady who wrote something along the lines of, remember during COVID when everybody was at home baking bread, growing plants, going outdoors, touching grass? We had it really good then, and we've all forgotten what that's like. And it feels a little bit like that, where the accelerating pace of technology is removing us from what makes us human.
Sitting in a park, drinking and having good conversations.
That's right, and I kind of feel sad about that.
Yeah. Touching grass, maybe literally.
Getting allergic reactions to grass.
right. I'm allergic to grass. For those, it's weird. Like, what a weird thing to be allergic to. As a baby, there's a photo of me crawling in the grass, and I would essentially be on like this, so my knees wouldn't touch because I would.
So when I had a baby, we took her outside. She hated the sunlight. She was like.
She's a vampire baby.
and then we made her touch grass, and the moment her feet touched the grass, she'd be like, whoop! And just didn't like it at all, didn't like the sensation. So we figured she would not be an outdoors child, and now she's the most outdoors of all children.
Maybe there was the friction that she ended up liking it, right?
Yes, maybe the hard work of going outside.
I think that's the lesson we've all learned today. So, like, are you more optimistic these days or less optimistic?
I don't know. I think in terms of like optimism for the technology, I think like there's a lot of potential for the technology to do good, and I am still a big believer in that. But I am less optimistic about humanity's ability to overcome the challenges that will be presented, because I think we'll take the path of least resistance, which means we'll rely on AI to do a lot more. And I don't know if that's good. Over-reliance on AI, I think might be a bad thing.
I think about yesterday at this executive retreat, a lot of partners were talking about judgment and how we need to instill judgment into our younger associates to be able to do things. Great topic. It is a great topic, and it relates to what we're discussing. But every time I hear somebody say that, I think, is the judgment that partner is wanting to instill in the associates, is that something that's just ephemeral, or is that a data point that can be quantified and then put into an artifact that can be ingested? Because what we were talking about with taking our lawyers' brains and put them into this, a lot of that may be called judgment, right? Because like, you can't argue this because that judge is going to hate it. but Judge B is going to love it. Is that judgment, or is that just a data point? Or you can't argue this in a deal around the M&A deal because it's going to scuttle the deal for this party, but it's going to be great for that party. Is that judgment, or is that a data point that you can put into an artifact?
So I don't know if you read this, but there was a litigator who, I think is a famous litigator at Paul Weiss, who went over to Milbank.
Okay.
And he argued in front of Supreme Court, I forget for which cases, but he used Harvey.
Oh yeah, Neil Cattell.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. He used Harvey to essentially simulate all the arguments that the justices would ask for, all the questions that they're going to ask. And he said the LLM, and I'll attribute this to the LLMs rather than Harvey, managed to verbatim hit some of the questions that the justices asked. Like, I think that's incredible, that there's so much content out there to have trained a large language model to mimic the thinking patterns, or at least the word usage patterns of these justices.
That's right. And you can imagine that what Neil Cattell has gathered over the course of his entire incredible career could be seen as judgment, but as demonstrated by the large language models predicting what Judge X and Y and Z could do, is that really judgment, or is that just quantifiable, right? And I think that I think we're going to have a reckoning as to what any particular lawyer thinks is their special sauce, because is it more special than you can quantify with the LLMs?
I don't think humanity is that smart, to be frank, and so therefore I do think a pattern matching machine can do very well emulating any human.
Yeah.
So yeah, with enough data, with enough disclosure of whatever it is that we're thinking, writing, etc., a large language model can do a very good job of emulating any of us.
So let's put this into concrete examples. And this is actually something I'm building using on the Aliyah and Folio side, where I can't remember if I've told this on the pod, so I'll repeat it. So 3 books that I'm co-author of, legal textbooks, and I'm building a tool called Folio Insights to be able to extract the insights from those books.
Okay.
So an insight from those books, an example is start a deposition with open-ended questions. What did you do today? And then end by the closed-ended and say, well, you did this thing, right?
Yep.
And so then you cut them off, right? So ask open-ended questions is an insight, and then go to closed-ended questions is also an insight.
Yep.
That is helpful not only for depositions, which is also a tag, but then also for cross-examination at trial.
Absolutely.
Right? So the same technique can be used in both. So really extracting tens of thousands of insights from these books and then putting them in a quantifiable knowledge graph to be able to apply to depositions and to trial and. So once they're all quantified, then a lot of that starts looking like judgment that is truly in the artifact that can be reasoned with the large language models. And so as we extract those insights from textbooks, like I'm doing, and from discussions with lawyers, and from oral arguments, and all of the other data points, I wonder, can we as humanity even keep up with all of those extracted insights? And is there going to be anything left in our brains that is not quantified?
I don't think there's going to be much left in our brains that aren't going to be quantified. I think the challenge is extracting what's in our brains into a digital form. I don't think the challenge is for the machine to absorb whatever is digitized.
Say that again.
So I think that the challenge is taking our brain and storing it into zeros and ones.
Yep.
I don't think the challenge is for an AI to generalize from those zeros and ones into a neural network. So head to database, database to neural network.
Yeah. That's the process. And
right.
now that you've put it into an artifact, say a knowledge graph, then the neural net can be able to go through guardrails, essentially the skeleton of the process, saying open-ended questions, then closed-ended questions, and it will do it deterministically, therefore reliably. And so really, as we put more of those things into the artifacts and give the AIs more of those guardrails and the skeletons upon which to go, is there much left for lawyering?
Well, and this goes back to the 11-year-old's third point, which is the way they're going to protect themselves is to stop using AI now. Stop that transfer from their brains into a digital record, because that's the hard part right now.
Yeah, smash the looms.
Smash the looms.
But that didn't work well for Ludd, right?
Well, I mean, if enough people do it, then maybe it works.
I guess.
You just need that 51% critical mass.
Right. But I think people, like I'm building this right now, right? And in a sense, you're building this right now. And I think that the humanity's desire to be able to make things better, I think will overcome the 50% or whatever the number is that the Gen Zs say stop doing it.
Right.
Because the upside is too great.
Do we have enough faith in humanity that we're going to do the right thing?
Well, I mean, you and I are doing the right thing. Like we're like, of the multiverse of all the bad, where we kill our humanity, right? We're pushing us toward the good, where we actually go better. And so I would argue that if we don't build the good, then the bad will win. So that's at least what I'm telling my children, to say, no, Dad is pushing us toward the good future, rather than leaving it to the bad people to go to the bad future.
And there's a blueprint of the T-1000 on your wall, right? Like,
Exactly.
look, if I don't build this, not a Terminator, but a protector.
That's right. One that really is imbibed with human values. Yeah.
And then I'm not going to put on an Arnold Schwarzenegger voice, but you can just imagine,
Yeah, that's T2, not T1. Yeah.
Right. And so, like, I do like the idea of we are building something that is good, that ultimately is going to be beneficial to humanity, and therefore, rather than money-hungry billionaires who are going to try and build this and monopolize it, we're trying to build it so that there are more people who are able to benefit from this. I like that idea. But I don't know if this is how the economy is structured.
Yeah.
I don't think the people who are holding the ownership of the GPUs will allow their GPUs to be used for the benevolence and the benefit of society.
A really good insight I heard from a podcast is that Anthropic, OpenAI, everyone wants to be able to have the highest value per token.
Yes.
And I think we've talked about this in the past, that coding has high value and legal has high value. So to your point, like, I don't know if the GPU people will want us to be able to do the right thing. Isn't societal OS being the law, isn't that a good thing that uses a lot of tokens that will make them a lot of money if we say, here are the agents that are now following the law because this is legal by design? Isn't this a good use of tokens that also pushes toward the good?
It reminds me a little bit of Asimov's 3 laws of robotics.
Yeah.
And now you're adding a 4th law, follow all laws.
Yeah.
I think it's the complications, the overlaps, the inconsistencies of the human systems is going to confuse the crap out of any AI trying to comply.
So and it confuses the crap out of many lawyers, which is why we have lawyers, right? I may have talked about this in the past too, but a friend of mine works for a cloud service organization. She said that she's in charge of bringing down CSAM and other objectionable material.
What's CSAM?
Child sexual exploitative material. So like child pornography. She said Nazi paraphernalia has to come down under German law because it's on, but under Texas law it has to stay up. As free speech. Mm-hmm. She said, whose laws do I follow? Whose human values do I follow? German human values or Texas human values?
Depends on the geography.
But it's worldwide. Okay. So she says, like, I can't do both. So I either have to pull it down under German law or keep it up under Texas law. I can't do both. Yep. So this is what you just described. Like, it's befuddling her as a human lawyer. She's like, which do I do? And so, but what if you were to have a database with the entire corpus of German law and Texas law and Swiss law and say, this is the least worst option. Here are the penalties under German law. Here's the penalties under Texas law. And here are all this, and here is the least worst job. And that's kind of what my friend as a human did, but did it inefficiently. But maybe the tool could do it more efficiently.
It's one very specific use case. And it's one use case which has very low likelihood of causing harm to anyone.
Well, I mean, Nazi paraphernalia will cause harm,
Yes,
right?
yes, that's true.
I mean, under German view, it would, right? But one can imagine we create disparate laws all the time in different jurisdictions, even within the same jurisdiction.
Yes.
You have one case that says this, and the other case that says the other, right?
Oh, I mean, you have federal and state laws that are inconsistent.
And we have circuit splits, right? There's all sorts of ways that you dispute, and so kind of the muddling, getting back to our early discussion, the friction kind of is the point. Because then we can say, is this circuit right or is that circuit right? With the circuit split, society debates it, and then a Supreme Court decides. So I wonder if the AIs can kind of go through a similar process of taking these disparate results and be able to try to harmonize them.
You know, there's value in humanity, right? Like you know, we go back to law school. We follow the common law, but then the common law is overlaid with equity. And equity is supposed to be that human element to say, what's actually fair under the circumstances?
Yeah.
What are we supposed to be doing? Not just follow the letter of the law, but look at all the circumstances beyond and let equity impose a better set of rules or better set of outcomes, depending on the situation.
Yeah.
And let's say we get to a future where AI does sit in a position of power, a position of judgment. Do we trust AI to do this? Because this is where we're heading, right? Like, as AI continues to get better, as we relinquish our free will to AI.
I wonder if the answer to your question is what relates to Neil Katyal realizing that the AI figured out what the justices were going to say, perhaps better than he could. And I think that as we have the AIs do more of our work, sussing out the law, I wonder if it might do better than our frail human brains might be able to.
Again, we're trusting an AI.
That's right. And if it's ASI, as the 11-year-old said,
Yes.
we can't trust it because it will kill us.
Well, it has no reason to keep us around.
Right.
Not that it wants to kill us, it just doesn't care.
Do you hear Jeffrey Hinton's most recent, he's more optimistic because if we imbue the AI, the ASI with motherly instincts, that he said that mothers are the only instance where a weaker being, a baby, has control over a stronger being, the mother. And that's because motherly instincts say that, I need to protect this baby, otherwise it will die. So if we imbue the ASI with this kind of motherly instinct to be able to say, yeah, these poor humans, we need to protect them, otherwise they'll die. That's maybe a way to be out of the problem that you talked about.
I love that analogy. I love the idea. I hadn't heard this before.
Yeah.
There was a similar sort of like idea about, and I forget who said it, like having ASI treat humans like a beloved pet. And it's like, well, yeah, I guess that's...
Until you put it down.
Stop yapping.
Right, exactly. Well, you've lived 12 years, and that's a long time for a dog, so we're going to make a little trip upstate. And,
yeah. Doggy heaven is very lovely.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, maybe, but I think we're getting closer to that reality, right? Like, we talk about how AI affects the law, but at the point of time when AI competence goes beyond humans, it's not just the law that matters, it's everything that we do.
And this goes to, equity being what's right? But what's right according to Judge 1 is not what's right according to Judge 2.
Yes.
And that's the difficulty, is that the law gives consistency and equity gives inconsistency, which is sometimes
quite
better.
Deliberate.
Right,
Yes.
right, deliberate. And so I guess what's better is Judge 1 versus Judge 2 inconsistent, or the large language model doing essentially a compression scheme of all the judges collectively as to what's right.
I don't know is the answer.
Yeah.
I don't know. If I had an answer to that, I'll probably make a larger investment in the Anthropic IPO that's coming up.
So let's continue this what's right. And on Friday, I'm going to be meeting with my favorite vibe coding Roman priest named Father John D'Alassio.
Yes.
So he's going to in Boston. So I'm going to be going to Boston in a couple of days, and we're going to have breakfast on Friday. So anyway, part of the goal of what we're doing is, of course, he and I are tagging up things that are right within the eventually the Vatican archives. And so we're saying, what is just, what is equitable? These are all tags that we have, and we're pulling up Thomas Aquinas, etc. So, you could be able to say, with Vincent, you could do a 50-state survey, say, I'm going to lay off 40% of my workforce from Block. Does that violate any of the 50 states laws? You can also say, does that violate the EU law? And eventually, what if you could say, does that violate ethical faith traditions? Whether your faith, you're Christian.
Am I a good human?
Oh, you're right, Christian or Jewish or secular humanists or whatever the ethical things that are beyond the governmental law. And I may have talked about my venture capitalist faith tradition person that said that companies that follow faith traditions in their companies make more money. They outperform the S&P 500. Love your customer, love your employees, makes more money than not. So what if you as a company were to say, does this violate US law and EU law and faith traditions? I want to be ethical because I'll make more money.
I don't think ethical companies ever think about it from that direction. No, they don't go, yes, I will be ethical so I make more money.
That's right, ethical companies don't, but unethical companies want to make money, so maybe we'll nudge them toward ethical.
There's your incentive.
Right.
It's like, hey, OpenAI, you should be more ethical. You can make more money that way.
Look at Anthropic, what they're doing. They're hanging out with the Pope. And arguably, maybe the Pope used Claude to be able to draft the encyclical. That's the rumor.
Maybe they did. Yeah. Maybe they did. And I mean, look, I have heard rumors that all of these companies are unethical to some degree, but
kind of like every CEO, you can't get to be CEO by being a nice person, right?
The old study says like the psychopath are the best CEOs.
That's right. And lawyers are typically more psychopathic than the average citizen.
Some people just say in control of your emotions, Damien.
That's right. Sociopath, psychopath, these are social constructs, I think.
I mean, what a broad spectrum. We went from like, what's the first step to adoption of AI in legal practice, all the way to like, is humanity going to survive?
I think that's what early summertime in Central Park with good friends and beautiful weather might do.
Alcohol.
That's right. It's not even. Cheers. This is great fun. Let's do it again.
Sure.
Should we end with some optimism?
Let's do. Should I start? Because you always start with optimism. Look, I am optimistic that more people are getting together trying to figure out the direction of this. That this is now the hottest topic that everyone has to contemplate and figure out. Everything from how do we make use of it in our personal lives to how does this affect the environment, the drinking water, the oxygen that we breathe. Like, talking about it, thinking about it is the only way that we have a good outcome out of this. So that's my optimism. More people talking and thinking about it.
Amen. And I think that your optimism, more people talking and thinking about it, leads to my optimism, where just yesterday I was talking with this AmLaw 50 law firm executive board, and they told me about a big win that they had. And it was a win using AI in the substantive law, which was a win, but they actually used it to win the business because they were going back and forth with the customer, the Fortune 50 customer, and the Fortune 50 customer was saying, your numbers are too high, you need to change it. And the law firm used AI to be able to say, what are good strategies to come back and be able to say, maybe if we could shape it this way, and maybe if we do the personnel this way, then we could be able to win this business, and they did. And so then they're using AI substantively, but they also won the business of law side, and using AI to do it that way. So anyway, that story led me to go back to my PowerPoint and slash a whole bunch of things, which was me trying to convince them that AI is a thing, which I had been pounding the streets for the last 3 years saying, hey, AI is a thing, to lawyers say, no, I'm going to practice the old way. But I realized with this story that that's totally shifted.
Yeah.
Everybody is now AI pilled. And now I can slash all those things and be able to talk about the more interesting things. So I'm optimistic about people talking about it, yes. And also the sophistication of the discussion, saying not if it's going to happen, but yes, it is going to happen.
But how?
What are we going to do about
it? Exactly,
yes.
the actual steps involved. It's funny you mentioned that example because like for me, I've been using Claude to help me write a speech for a demo this Friday. So I'm doing a demo for Oz's skills.law thing where we're going to be presenting our tech for negotiating and redlining. I'm not going to explore that in this podcast, but we'll talk about it some other time. And what I'm finding is Claude has its own voice, no matter how much I try to nudge it.
It does.
And it is not my voice.
Yes.
And this is what's kind of very cool about it. The more you use AI, the more you recognize where it works and also where it doesn't work.
One of my favorite phrases is, your AI is showing.
You go on LinkedIn now and you see the post and you're like, genuinely?
Yeah, maybe take a look at your AI. It's showing. Yeah.
So, I think we're all becoming more sophisticated. So,
I think that's right.
wonderful.
Horace, every time I talk to you, I end up happier than when I started.
Oh, Damien, likewise. What a wonderful day. And we should wrap it up there, folks. We'll see you again soon. Thank you for listening to us, and we'll catch you in a couple of weeks.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone.